Well, now, I bet you weren't expecting that. Frankly, I wasn't expecting that either. But good morning, friends and neighbors. I am indeed Lisa Blackburn, sitting in the big chair, broadcasting live from the Rick House studios here at 95.7 News Radio. I am absolutely thrilled to be hosting for the next couple of days, and perhaps off and on over the next little while if I don't screw this up completely. The only thing I promised Dan was that I would leave the building standing, so we will do our best. Speaking of Dan, I want to thank Dan Alstrand and the team here at 95.7 News Radio for the invitation and the support while I do this, and especially want to thank my bosses over at Forward Strategies, where I now sit, and thank you to the crew there for giving me the flexibility to come play radio. So, who the heck am I? Well, that's a good question. I started my career in radio news back in 1990. Spent most of my time at the rock station here in Halifax, but also dabbled as a newspaper columnist with the Halifax Daily News, and also did some television work with Global. Did the absolutely unthinkable in 2016 and ran for Halifax City Council. I served the residents of Upper Sackville, Middle Sackville, Lucasville, and Beaverbank for 8 years. I promised the community and my family that it'd be just for 2 terms, and then I would step away. And that second term just ended last year, in October. But since then, I have returned to, I would say, more creative work, and also back to volunteer work. I'm doing a lot of work with the nonprofits in the community, the Cobequid Foundation out in Sackville, and I also have a connection to the military. A few years ago, I was appointed an honorary lieutenant colonel for Canadian Army's 3 Intelligence Company. It's an absolute honor, an incredible honor to wear the uniform in this role. It's a civilian role. I love politics. I love dogs, music, wine, not necessarily in that order. This is my community. I graduated from Sackville High, class of 86, then the University of King's College in 1990. I'm old enough to remember Sackville Downs. I remember going to movies at the old Highland Theatre, and I remember going to see Sarah McLachlan at Pub Flamingo before she became Sarah McLachlan. I guess you would say I am Gen X to the core, and growing up in the 70s and 80s has pretty much shaped my worldview. So here's the deal. I'm okay with tough conversations. I will challenge, but I will always respect. Respect because it is absolutely surreal to sit in this studio named after Rick Howe and all that he stood for. It's been a few years since I've been behind the business end of a microphone, so this isn't going to be without hiccups. I will apologize ahead of time, just getting over a bit of a cold, so if you're old enough to remember Brenda Vaccaro, enjoy. In this turbulent time, and it is turbulent, I choose to find the humor in life, so we're going to have some laughs over the next couple of days. Okay, enough about me. I want to find out about you, and we will have that opportunity in the open hour starting at 11 o'clock. But we do have a fabulous show lined up for you today. We're going to try and get some folks on from Cup W. We are now in the midst of a postal strike again. Happened overnight. If you were sleeping and missed it, the post office, you're not going to be getting packages today. And so we're going to be finding out some more information. Picket lines are already up at several post offices across the region. So, just be wary of that if you're out and about today. Some other things we're going to chat about. Medical professionals, they are begging us, please listen to us and not Donald Trump. We're going to be speaking to the executive director of the Autism Alliance of Canada and just sort of parse out what Trump's announcement from earlier this week means for pregnant women, people with autism, people who are thinking that Tylenol is going to help them avoid autism. We'll break it all down with Jonathan Lay, who's the executive director of Autism Alliance Canada. Mark Carney has said that Canada is not going to split its submarine contract between suppliers, and which is interesting because it's my understanding that the fighter jets that they're looking at, the splitting that is very much in the cards. So we're going to ask Scott Taylor from Esprit de Corps Magazine just exactly what this means. Could it mean delays? Is it going to mean higher costs? He will help us break that down. And then just before 11 o'clock, we are going to be speaking with Sylvain Charlebois, and he's the Senior Director of the Agri-Food's Analytics Lab over at Dow. He is basically our dining and food guru, the food professor, I think he's known as. But apparently, solo dining is reshaping restaurants in Canada. More and more people are opting to dine solo. Don't know how you feel about that. It kind of makes me a little uncomfortable anytime that I've had to go and dine solo if I was working out of town or something. So we'll see how that is going with Sylvain Charlebois. Just about 11 o'clock we'll do that. And then after 11, we'll hear the news with Blake Priddle. And then the open hour. That is your chance to give us a call and chat about what is on your mind this week. I promise I will be easy if you will be easy. It's my first open hour, so we'll be gentle with each other. A little later on, Tree Canada and community volunteers are working together to grow the urban forest here in Halifax. And I can tell you from firsthand experience, the tree canopy in this city is something that is envied by many across Canada, across North America. And Halifax has won awards for its tree canopy and its urban treescapes. So we'll find out more from Tree Canada and discuss what is going on in the urban forest as we celebrate National Tree Day. A little later on, we've got Allister Aalders with the weekend weather roundup. A little bit of rain last night. It was heavy in some spots, but is it enough? Do we still need some more? Are we going to get some more? Allister Aalders will have those answers around 12:30 or so. And then we will wrap up the afternoon with Cecil Wright and sports. Now, I'm going to, full disclosure here, I'm not a big-time sports person. I can talk Blue Jays. I can talk Oilers. So we'll let Cecil fill in the blanks. I know he's probably a little hurt after last night's Red Sox game, and I promise I'm not going to rub it in his face because I'm a nice person. All right, it is 10:08, and we're going to take a quick break, and then when we come back, we're going to talk to we're going to talk to medical professionals who are urging us not to listen to Donald Trump. It is 95.7 News Radio. I am Lisa Blackburn, and we'll be back right after this. Dan is taking some much-deserved time off and extending it into an extra long weekend. So thank you so much for inviting me to fill this space. Well, now, did you see any of that unhinged press conference earlier this week? President Donald Trump warned pregnant women against using acetaminophen, and the backlash was instant, almost instant. The language that was used was far worse than anybody could have expected. And on Monday, Trump was adamant he is going to be telling physicians in the United States that taking acetaminophen can be associated with a very increased risk of autism. His words, not mine. That has, Health Canada certainly did not waste any time in chiming in, saying that acetaminophen is recommended treatment for pain and fever during pregnancy and should be used as directed. It also noted that fever and pain, if left untreated, can certainly pose health risks to a fetus. And the World Health Organization has also rejected those claims. Well, somebody else who is vehemently rejecting those claims is Jonathan Lay. Jonathan is the executive director of the Autism Alliance of Canada. And Jonathan joins us this morning to, discuss this new position of the United States and what it could mean for us here in Canada and, what it means for people who are on the autism spectrum. Good morning, Jonathan. Welcome.
Morning, Lisa. Thanks for having me.
Oh, thank you. So what was your first thought when you saw that press conference or read about it on Monday?
Our first reaction as the alliance of organizations was, oh no, what harm can be done this time?
Yeah.
And we know autism has no single cause, and framing it in the way he did in terms of an epidemic and in terms of something horrible, it undermines both the scientific integrity of what we know about autism, and it also, importantly, it disrespects the life experience of autistic people and their families, right? And the way we use words really matter.
Well, and that was my first thought, too. Isn't this stigmatizing people who do live with autism?
100%. All our, we have autistic staff, board members, members in at the Alliance, and we realize as a community, this does not the dignity, the human dignity of every individual is lost in the way that things are presented, and beyond the science itself, which we can talk about, but in terms of even how it's being approached, it's just not right.
So, just to be clear, there is absolutely no scientific basis for what Trump said on Monday. It was nothing more than conspiracy theories.
Yeah, so, in science, there's the idea of correlation versus causation. So when two things come together, for example, ice cream sales and sunburns are correlated things, and one doesn't cause the other.
Yeah.
And similarly, what we're seeing with some of the data he's pulling from is kind of taken out of context. There is a really, really small correlation, but it doesn't mean that one causes the other. Autism existed well before Tylenol has been given, and as you mentioned, medical providers across this country and even south of the border are saying, hey, if you take it as prescribed with the right dose and duration, you're going to be fine. So yeah, it's not causative. It doesn't cause autism. Yeah,
and I guess the biggest thing for me is that there was no medical professionals per se that were speaking about this. I guess you're glad that Health Canada was quick to jump on this, as well as the World Health Organization.
Yes, and we've interacted with our government and to say, hey, this, and to make sure that all, we're aligned and they're aligned, and we're all kind of speaking strongly to say that, hey, this can cause damage. And there were other parts of that press conference. He talked about leucovorin, this other folate supplement. But
yes,
he took that data and said, hey, moms are recommended to take folates for other reasons, but there's a certain type that he's recommended children taking. It'll cure them of their autism. That's the words he's using. And but again, if you see that part come up in the news, much more research needs to be done before we can claim that. And there's little small studies say, hey, it might help in a little way, but science moves slowly, moves cautiously, and we don't want to jump into things without knowing the full effects or harms of what's being proposed.
And I mean, as Health Canada points out, a pregnant woman who is, as Trump suggested, toughing it out with pain and fever, they actually could be doing more harm to their unborn fetus, correct?
Yeah, 100%. We know, when this science has blacked this up, that high fevers and a long time in pregnancy, a lot of those sort of pro-inflammatory conditions do lead to sort of different outcomes and on the developing brain, on the developing baby. So there's harms of not doing something. So take Tylenol as prescribed by a healthcare provider. That's the best thing we can do.
And the Autism Alliance of Canada, can you tell us a little bit about your group?
Yep. So we are a national umbrella organization of autistic people, families, and organizations, mainly the core service providers across this country. And we continue to bring research and community voices across the country together to inform policy. So right now, we're working closely with the federal government to implement Canada's national autism strategy. The government's committed to this, and we bring evidence and community voice to really shape that and continue to guide and drive that work.
Excellent. So I understand that down in the States, the U.S. Health Secretary, Robert F. Kennedy Jr., has been given his marching orders to find, quote, a cause for autism by September. I mean, how realistic is that goal? And is that goal itself even rooted in science?
We're a few days away from the end of September, so I don't see anything happening. I don't expect anything to be happening. Research in autism and many neurodevelopmental conditions, it's a complex interaction. We talk about, in science, we talk about the gene environment interaction, so our genetics and also the environment around us, and that there's interplays between these things, and there is no one single cause. And framing it that way isn't helpful. Our brain is very complex. The connection between the brain and the mind, and we're science moves very slowly, but methodologically to say, hey, what are the various causes and various interactions between gene and environment that may lead to higher rates of autism, partly which is because it's being more widely recognized and the diagnostic criteria has been expanded. But I don't see RFK being able to solve this in the next couple of days.
So I guess the other piece of it, too, that troubled me was the tone of it. Just the way that they spoke about autism, almost like it was a tragedy. It's such a complex, multifaceted condition. And to frame it like that is, as we said off the top, it's stigmatizing. It paints the picture that people who are living with autism have they have a lesser life.
Yeah, exactly. And we have a statement on our website that really hammers that point home. And we say, what we said is really numbers do matter, but how we use numbers and how we use words matters even more, right? So prevalence data, so when he's talking about crisis and epidemic, that sort of data, that matters, but it's used to inform supports, but not to fuel the fear and increase the stigma, as you're mentioning, that's out there.
Yeah, the language far worse than anything I really had ever anticipated, but it's scary how they look at the world of autism. So listen, I really very much appreciate your time. Jonathan Lay, Executive Director of Autism Alliance of Canada. Thank you so very much, and I'm sure we're going to be hearing more about this in the coming days and weeks.
Great. Thanks, Lisa. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Good morning, friends and neighbors. Well, postal workers are going back on strike. The federal government has told Canada Post, you got to make some changes, folks, like stopping door-to-door deliveries and closing some of the rural post offices. That is not going over well with the union, and we're trying to get somebody from CUPW to come on with us today and discuss this. What does all of this mean? Well, it means that parcels and letters are not going to be arriving in the mailbox today. The minister in charge of Canada Post mandate said this drastic shift away from door-to-door deliveries and some rural post offices needs to happen if the mail carrier is going to stay in business. Apparently, they're losing $10 million each day, the Postal Service. So the union is not having any of this. They have said that they are outraged and appalled. Canada Post has welcomed the government move. Hasn't commented, though, since the workers since they walked back off the job later on or earlier this evening or last night. So it's really a difficult time. If you're trying to wrap your head around the back and forth that's been going on. Canada Post has been on strike, off strike, on strike, off strike, but this one is big. I mean, the government has directed Canada Post to basically change how it does business. That's the question. Door-to-door delivery. Is that something that is still a thing? Should it still be a thing? Is it an outdated form of communication? Can we live with just delivery a couple of times a week? So those are all questions that we'd certainly like to discuss later on this morning. Perhaps that's something that you want to throw out there for the open hour. Another interesting story I found too, Starbucks. Yeah, they're on every street corner, but apparently it's going to be fewer of them around. They're laying off around 900 non-retail employees, and they're actually going to be closing some stores in the U.S. and Canada. Apparently, today is the day that employees whose positions are being eliminated are being told. Starbucks says that they haven't decided how many stores are closing, but many of them will be in North America in the coming days. Starbucks Canada is confirming the news will be similar for here, but didn't say how many locations will be impacted, how many Canadian employees. Now, Starbucks said on Thursday, they're expecting to end its fiscal year with 18,300 stores in North America, down from last year. And it's really quite rare for Starbucks to shrink its store count during a fiscal year. Oh, what do you think? Have we sort of reached maximum limit on the number of coffee shops and Starbucks that we need as a society? So that's perhaps something else you would like to chat about later on today. But listen, we're coming up on 10:27, and we've got the news at the bottom of the hour with Blake Priddle. And then coming up after that, we've got, let's see, what have we got on the go here? Coming up after that, Scott Taylor, Esprit de Corps Magazine. It looks like Canada is not going to be splitting its submarine contract between suppliers. What is that going to mean? Is it going to mean more money? We'll find out with Scott Taylor coming up after the news, and the news is coming up next.
Blackburn.
Good morning, friends and neighbors. Thinking about going out for dinner at some point this weekend? Well, you're probably not alone, but maybe you are. Solo dining apparently is the latest and greatest in the restaurant sector. Let's face it, eating out is a lot more expensive than it used to be. Many couples, enjoy date nights once a week. I know we do. I go out for dinner on Tuesday. My husband goes out for dinner on Thursday. It works out. But joining us this morning, we have Sylvain Charlebois, and he is going to dining and how this is reshaping restaurants right across Canada. Good morning, Sylvain.
Hey, good morning, Lisa.
How's it going?
Pretty good. I'm actually in Quebec City this morning. It's a lovely morning, and
Ville de Quebec.
and I am traveling, and I am eating alone, unfortunately.
Now, for me, I just feel this overwhelming anxiety and anxiousness when I'm sitting there by myself. I just feel like everybody is staring at me. I can't imagine that this is actually a thing, but apparently it is.
Yeah, Restaurants Canada came out with a really interesting report this week. Obviously, Restaurants Canada come out. They do publish reports on a regular basis telling us exactly what's happening in food service. Things are not easy for the restaurant industry. There's a lot of money basically being shifted away from dinner, which really is the big money maker, obviously, Lisa, for fine dining in particular, the white cloth sector. So a lot more people are buying lunches. A lot of people are back to work physically at their offices, and breakfast is also up as well. But dinner is down. But the other thing that really just surprised me is the number of people making actual reservations for themselves on their own. 50% of Canadians have actually made at least one reservation once in the past year for just themselves, and that's up 30% from last year. So more and more people are going out just on their own.
So now, with this trend, are we seeing restaurants sort of adjusting their menus, adjusting their layout to accommodate solo diners?
Well, that's the thing. When you're providing service to a group or a couple, obviously upselling anything, it's easier. Do you want an appetizer? Do you want a nice bottle of wine? Do you want dessert, coffee, whatever you're selling? It's easier when you have a group of people.
Yeah, solo diners are tougher customers.
Yeah, exactly. When you're on your own, do you actually want a 5-service meal? Really? It's totally different. So I would say for restaurants, I think they're in for a bit of a shift here. If you want to make money, especially at dinner time, you're gonna have to think about entertaining people who are traveling on their own or are showing up on their own. For example, sometimes when I go to a restaurant, there's a bar, and if I'm on my own, I don't want to have a date with my iPad. I just go to the bar, and I end up meeting random people, and often it's actually quite pleasant. And the bartender, if he has a personality of a cat, that's not good for business, But if he has a great personality, or he or she has a great personality, it makes the experience all worthwhile. So that's and the menu design has to change as well. You can't really have, for example, meal deals for 2 or 3 or 4. You have to kind of make your money selling single dishes. And of course, when you're on your own, you want to discover and try new things.
Yeah. And I guess, have restaurants really recovered fully from COVID?
Yeah, absolutely. I think we're beyond COVID. In fact, I mean, I would say that Restaurants Canada, I don't think in its latest report actually had the word COVID or pandemic.
Oh, excellent.
It's 5 years now. I think the food economy is much more normalized now. Last night I was actually giving a talk to about 200 businesses in the food industry. Some of them were in food service, and frankly, it's all about. I mean, the key thing, the key factors right now are obviously inflation and, of course, geopolitics. I mean, tariffs have been a tricky thing to deal with, but things are slowly coming down. So people are shifting towards, making things more efficient. They're thinking about reinvesting. I know there's a lot of people talk about a recession. I don't believe it. I don't think that we'll actually go into a recession, and that's good for the food industry. And so they're focusing on the future.
Yeah, and it seems that the the spending at full service restaurants seems to be, clicking down, but the quick serves, they're the ones that are seeing the expansion of their business these days, I understand.
Absolutely, with the exception of Starbucks.
Yeah.
Did you see yesterday? Oh my goodness!
Just read the story earlier this hour.
I know. So 900 people will lose their jobs. They're going to be closing a lot of Canadian coffee shops. I suspect there's going to be many of them in HRM, I would say.
Yeah.
Starbucks is the largest food chain in the world with 38,000 outlets out there. But, they pride themselves as being the third place between home and the office. But now, Lisa, you got tons of places you can stop. Lots of independent roasters, especially in the HRM. Great ones.
Oh, absolutely.
And people are noticing.
Yep, absolutely. And interesting to see that, breakfast, once upon a time, it was a marginal part of food service sales. But, I mean, that breakfast is cool again.
Yeah, and what's really interesting in North America, especially in the U.S., is that a lot of people are stopping for breakfast at convenience stores now. Convenience stores are getting into the couche-tard model. People are stopping in at convenience store, but they actually have quality food now more and more.
Yeah.
And couche-tard operates about 16,000 different convenience stores around the world. Many of them are in Canada. And when you stop in, the quality is improving, not quickly, but slowly. And again, people are noticing. And frankly, I think right now with food inflation, who wants to pay $8 for a latte? Seriously.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the thing.
And I think that inflation is really driving much of Starbucks in particular, much of their concern.
Exactly. And I want to throw something else out there, Lisa.
Sure.
Pumpkin spice,
oh,
overrated.
Lord.
Overrated. All right? I'm just throwing it out there.
Yeah, it should be illegal to have pumpkin spice anything before the official start of fall. Before the official start of fall. At least wait until September 22nd, for God's sakes, people.
They started on August 26th. this year.
Wow.
August 26th.
Wow.
People are still swimming in pools on August 26th, for goodness sake.
But
have a margarita.
But the drive is still there. People still, I mean, you still see it on social media, the countdown to pumpkin spice, whatever.
Yeah. What's funny about pumpkin spice, Lisa, is that people don't necessarily drink it for the taste. They drink it for the smell and the nostalgia. That's really what gets people to buy more of these things.
True enough.
It's an incredible story, but like we need to figure out something else here. I don't know, anything.
Yeah. But you know, the food culture is changing here in Canada for sure. Absolutely.
I mean, and I've been in Halifax now for a decade, and things have changed tremendously for the better. The food scene in the HRM and Nova Scotia is just booming. More choices, high quality options. It's just great. And if you're looking for any good spots in Halifax, you can find one easily these days. So it's great.
There you go. Solo dining, and you don't have to wait for someone to invite you out. Just go out and enjoy the dining options that Halifax has to offer. All right.
Absolutely.
Sylvain Charlebois, Senior Director of Agri-Food Analytics Lab at Dalhousie University. Enjoy your time in Ville de Quebec and have a great weekend.
Have a good weekend, Lisa.
Alrighty, thank you. It is 10:57. We've got the news with Blake Priddle coming up at the top of the hour. And then after that, we unleash the Kraken. We will throw open the lines for the open hour. We will start off with Jim Gallant, who is a Cup W negotiator, and Jim's going to update us on the Canada Post strike. That is coming up after the news, and the news with Blake Priddle is coming up next.
Blackburn.
Good morning, friends and neighbors. Thinking about going out for dinner at some point this weekend? Well, you're probably not alone, but maybe you are. Solo dining apparently is the latest and greatest in the restaurant sector. You know, let's face it, eating out is a lot more expensive than it used to be. Many couples, enjoy date nights once a week. I know we do. I go out for dinner on Tuesday. My husband goes out for dinner on Thursday. It works out. But joining us this morning, we have Sylvain Charlebois, and he is going to dining and how this is reshaping restaurants right across Canada. Good morning, Sylvain.
Hey, good morning, Lisa.
How's it going?
Pretty good. I'm actually in Quebec City this morning. It's a lovely morning, and
Ville de Quebec.
And I am traveling, and I am eating alone, unfortunately.
Now, for me, I just feel this overwhelming anxiety and anxiousness when I'm sitting there by myself. I just feel like everybody is staring at me. I can't imagine that this is actually a thing, but apparently it is.
Yeah, Restaurants Canada came out with a really interesting report this week. Obviously, Restaurants Canada come out. They do publish reports on a regular basis telling us exactly what's happening in food service. Things are not easy for the restaurant industry. There's a lot of money basically being shifted away from dinner, which really is the big money maker, obviously, Lisa, for fine dining in particular, the white cloth sector. So a lot more people are buying lunches. A lot of people are back to work physically at their offices, and breakfast is also up as well. But dinner is down. But the other thing that really just surprised me is the number of people making actual reservations for themselves on their own. 50% of Canadians have actually made at least one reservation once in the past year for just themselves, and that's up 30% from last year. So more and more people are going out just on their own.
So now, with this trend, are we seeing restaurants sort of adjusting their menus, adjusting their layout to accommodate solo diners?
Well, that's the thing. When you're providing service to a group or a couple, obviously upselling anything, it's easier. Do you want an appetizer? Do you want a nice bottle of wine? Do you want dessert, coffee, whatever you're selling? It's easier when you have a group of people.
Yeah, solo diners are tough for customers.
Yeah, exactly. When you're on your own, do you actually want a 5-service meal? Really? It's totally different. So I would say, for restaurants, I think they're in for a bit of a shift here. If you want to make money, especially at dinner time, you're gonna have to think about entertaining people who are traveling on their own or are showing up on their own. For example, sometimes when I go to a restaurant, there's a bar, and if I'm on my own, I don't want to have a date with my iPad. I just go to the bar, and I end up meeting random people, and often it's actually quite pleasant. And the bartender, if he has a personality of a cat, that's not good for business, But if he has a great personality, or he or she has a great personality, it makes the experience all worthwhile. So that's and the menu design has to change as well. You can't really have, for example, meal deals for 2 or 3 or 4. You have to kind of make your money selling single dishes. And of course, when you're on your own, you want to discover and try new things.
Yeah. And I guess, have restaurants really recovered fully from COVID?
Yeah, absolutely. I think we're beyond COVID. In fact, I would say that Restaurants Canada, I don't think in its latest report actually had the word COVID or pandemic.
Oh, excellent.
It's 5 years now. I think the food economy is much more normalized now. Last night I was actually giving a talk to about 200 businesses in the food industry. Some of them were in food service, and frankly, it's all about. The key thing, the key factors right now are obviously inflation and, of course, geopolitics. Tariffs have been a tricky thing to deal with, but things are slowly coming down. So people are shifting towards, making things more efficient. They're thinking about reinvesting. I know there's a lot of people talk about a recession. I don't believe it. I don't think that we'll actually go into a recession, and that's good for the food industry. And so they're focusing on the future.
Yeah, and it seems that the the spending at full service restaurants seems to be, clicking down, but the quick serves, they're the ones that are seeing the expansion of their business these days, I understand.
Absolutely, with the exception of Starbucks.
Yeah.
Did you see yesterday? Oh my goodness!
Just read the story earlier this hour.
I know. So 900 people will lose their jobs. They're going to be closing a lot of Canadian coffee shops. I suspect there's going to be many of them in HRM, I would say.
Yeah.
Starbucks is the largest food chain in the world with 38,000 outlets out there. But, they pride themselves as being the third place between home and the office. But now, Lisa, you got tons of places you can stop. Lots of independent roasters, especially in the HRM. Great ones.
Oh, absolutely.
And people are noticing.
Yep, absolutely. And interesting to see that, breakfast, once upon a time, it was a marginal part of food service sales. But, that breakfast is cool again.
Yeah, and what's really interesting in North America, especially in the U.S., is that a lot of people are stopping for breakfast at convenience stores now. Convenience stores are getting into the couche-tard model. People are stopping in at convenience store, but they actually have quality food now more and more.
Yeah.
And couche-tard operates about 16,000 different convenience stores around the world. Many of them are in Canada. And when you stop in, the quality is improving, not quickly, but slowly. And again, people are noticing. And frankly, I think right now with food inflation, who wants to pay $8 for a latte? Seriously.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the thing.
You know, and I think that inflation is really driving much of Starbucks in particular, much of their concern.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I want to throw something else out there, Lisa.
Sure.
Pumpkin spice,
Oh,
overrated.
Lord.
Overrated. All right? I'm just throwing it out there.
Yeah, it should be illegal to have pumpkin spice anything before the official start of fall. Before the official start of fall. At least wait until September 22nd, for God's sakes, people.
They started on August 26th this year.
Wow.
August 26th.
Wow.
People are still swimming in pools on August 26th, for goodness sake.
But
have a margarita.
But the drive is still there. People still,
I know.
you still see it on social media, the countdown to pumpkin spice, whatever.
Yeah. What's funny about pumpkin spice, Lisa, is that people don't necessarily drink it for the taste. They drink it for the smell and the nostalgia. That's really what gets people to buy more of these things.
True enough.
It's an incredible story, but like we need to figure out something else here. I don't know, anything.
Yeah. But you know, the food culture is changing here in Canada for sure.
Absolutely. And I've been in Halifax now for a decade, and things have changed tremendously for the better. The food scene in the HRM and Nova Scotia is just booming. More choices, high quality options. It's just great. And if you're looking for any good spots in Halifax, you can find one easily these days. So it's great.
There you go. Solo dining, and you don't have to wait for someone to invite you out. Just go out and enjoy the dining options that Halifax has to offer. All right.
Absolutely.
Sylvain Charlebois, Senior Director of Agri-Food Analytics Lab at Dalhousie University. Enjoy your time in Ville de Quebec and have a great weekend.
Have a good weekend, Lisa.
Alrighty, thank you. It is 10:57. We've got the news with Blake Priddle coming up at the top of the hour. And then after that, we unleash the Kraken. We will throw open the lines for the open hour. We will start off with Jim Gallant, who is a Cup W negotiator, and Jim's going to update us on the Canada Post strike. That is coming up after the news, and the news with Blake Priddle is coming up next.
Blackburn.
And we are back. Good morning, friends and neighbors. We are into the second hour of the Todd Veinotte Show, filling in for Dan Alstrand, who's filling in for Todd Veinotte. You can just follow the lines there. My name is Lisa Blackburn, and yes, I am here for a couple of days and maybe beyond, depending on how things go. This is the open hour right now, and this is where we get to hear from you. 902-405-6000 is the number, or 1-877-801-8255. You can give us a call and chat about anything that is on your mind. And perhaps this is something that is on your mind. First of all, we are going to just take a few minutes of the open hour and have a chat with Jim Gallant. And Jim is a negotiator with Cup W. Cup W very much now in the news because of the Canada Post strike. And it appears that the strike is back on. 55,000 postal workers said that they will all be back on the picket lines today. And so we're just going to take a few minutes with Jim and see what he can update us on. Jim Gallant, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having us on.
Hey, my pleasure. Can you tell us what is the latest from your end?
Well, you're right. They might be out. They are out. Everybody across the country has been called out. Yesterday, we heard Minister Lightbound's laying down of the law, I guess, following a biased report by Bill Kaplan. That basically both Kaplan's report and Minister Lightbound are following what Canada Post management have said they need. That management team is, not people that came from Canada Post. They came from Mr. Ettinger's the CEO. He came from Scottsburn Milk, and another guy, Alex Brisson, came from CN Rail.
Okay.
It seems like they don't have much. Knowledge of what the Postal Service is. They came from business instead of service.
And so what would you have preferred to, I mean, so you take issue with the report that this decision is based on?
Yeah, I mean, the report is what it is. Mr. Kaplan took exactly what Canada Post said and ran with it. There were 900 submissions from cities, towns, First Nations, individuals, and he ignored them all. They all said that they needed more service, not less. And what Lightbound said yesterday is that he's going to, for instance, extend the standard or the schedule that a letter has to get across the country or mail has to get across the country.
Right.
Well, I live in Halifax. I'm a Haligonian all my life, but if I send a letter from Halifax to Vancouver, unless I send it on Monday, it's going to get there next week. That's the standard. It's 4 business days.
Yeah.
So if I send it on Tuesday, it's getting there next Monday. And they're going, oh, well, the standards are too tight. Well, if you can't put a piece of mail on trucks across the country and get it there in 7 days, and trucks are moving all day long, then there's something wrong with your management skills. Because I could drive me across the country sleeping in 7 days. So it's just ridiculous. Those sorts of things. The one positive note that comes out of it is that they're going to attach. They're going to make it so the price of the stamp covers the mail better. In the first 2 quarters this year, they've added another $370 million in revenue, and if you extrapolate that across the year, it's about $1 billion. And surprise, surprise, that's what they say they need.
Yeah, well, I mean, they say that the Canada Post is approximately losing $10 million a day, according to the minister.
Yeah, but it's not. They weren't losing $10 million a day last year before we went on strike.
Right.
Before there was a work stoppage, they're losing it during a work stoppage. We were up until today striking flyers. So they're not making any revenue on flyers, and they're still paying wages. Well, yes, they're losing money probably, but I don't doubt that they're losing some. I think that $10 million is just a really round number that they use, but they're losing something, But the minute, and I invite people to go on like a site like Reitman's, they're a big mailer. Reitman's customers ask in the frequently asked questions, are you going to go back to Canada Post? And Reitman's answers, yes, as soon as the labor disruption's over. So we're going to get those customers back. We know it. We're the cheapest deal in town. But people, including the government right now, are still using UPS and FedEx. And they go, I wonder why Canada Post isn't doing so well. The money's going to the States. That's why Canada Post isn't doing so well.
Using Canada Post might be the ultimate elbows up.
Yes, absolutely. It's one of them. It's a carrier owned by the people. I don't get it. I really don't.
And I mean, one of the things that the government is proposing to do is to put an end to door-to-door delivery. Now, as someone who, I mean, I've never had door-to-door delivery my entire life. I've always had to go to a rural post box or a community mailbox. So, tell us, what exactly will we be missing?
Move at a sackful, Lisa.
Yeah.
Move at a sackful. But I can tell you, we hit it. We hit that in Halifax. We got hit by that in 2013 or 14, and only the peninsula survived. And they put those CMBs everywhere. I live in Fairview. I have them. And my parents are in Spryfield. That's the same thing out there.
Yeah.
But the elderly can't make it to those. There's people in wheelchairs that can't make it there. There's all kinds of reasons why those don't work. And for years, people walk the mail. And now Canada Post went out and bought, it's almost 10,000 trucks in the last 15 years that they've added to their fleet. And so that's a huge cost. Yeah. And they go, well, we're bleeding money. Yeah, because you used to have a man or a woman walking around delivering the mail to houses, door to door, on foot. The best carbon footprint you could have, and you changed it. So I'm not saying that every house needs door to door delivery. We're saying that the ones that are economical, it should be. And Canada Post says just that it's not economical, period. And part of their argument is, well, there's less letters and more addresses. Well, you only have to look in the city. Of course there are more addresses. There's a crane everywhere. Yeah. There used to be a house on Almond Street, and now there's an apartment building that has, 90 units. Well, it's 90 more addresses, but the letter carrier doesn't have to go any further.
Wow.
It only takes a few seconds to deliver that point of call. It's not, but they don't say any of that. They just say buzzwords that we can't defend, because they walk in and say 20 sets of buzzwords, and we only get 10 minutes to try and fix that.
So, as somebody who hasn't been following every step of this this story, it's where do you go next? I mean, do you have talks that are scheduled, or is this just a complete breakdown in communication?
Well, last Friday we met with the minister for the first time in this round of bargaining. He's new to his job, but we didn't meet with the other one either. They wouldn't meet with us. He met with us for 30 minutes exactly, and he never mentioned anything about anything that happened yesterday. So he was meeting with us to tick a box to say he met with the union. He did not ask us about any of those things, if they were good ideas or bad ideas. He talked about Canada Post's demands at the table, and then we were told by Canada Post they were going to give us an offer either yesterday or today, and his announcement stopped that. So we don't know when they're going to give us an offer, and the offer obviously is going to be likely worse than the last one, because now the minister has said the government's on their side out loud. We knew anyway that they were, but now he's admitted it.
They said the quiet part out loud.
Yeah, exactly. So now he has said it, and now everybody knows. So now we're going to have to fight it. And there's already the premier in Newfoundland said, to the government, what are you doing? This is going to hurt small communities. And we're hearing from, in Nova Scotia, people that are on the ground there are hearing from communities that are asking for resolutions to tell Canada Post to stop. So you've been a municipal councillor. These sorts of things hurt people. Yeah. They're going to close post offices in small communities and maybe put them in the drugstore.
Yeah.
Well, the person at the drugstore makes, $15 an hour, and the two postal workers that work there make $30 an hour. Yeah. The small communities need that income. They need the Canadian flag in their communities.
And in many cases, it's their community hub.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. And
right.
we've championed that. And Member 2 in Cape Breton is one of the shining stars for us on a First Nation. We opened a community hub there.
Outstanding. All right, Jim, I thank you so very much for your time, and good luck out on the picket lines today. And hopefully it's not going to be a long time out there in the weather for you guys.
All right. Thank you, and good luck with the show.
All right. Take care. Thank you so much. That was Jim Gallant. He is a Cup W negotiator, and he is heading back out onto the picket line along with 55,000 of his co-workers at Canada Post. It is 11:15. Well, that was the kickoff to the open hour. We open the phone lines after the break. So if you want to talk about the Canada Post strike or anything else that is on your mind, give us a call at 902-405-6000. If you're out of town, 1-877-801-8255. It is 97.5 News Radio, and we'll be back right after the break.
Burn.
Good morning. Yes, indeed. I am Lisa Blackburn, filling in for the next couple of days. Lisa Blackburn from Forward Strategies. That's where I hang my hat now. And thank you to the fine folks over there for allowing me to come and play radio for the next couple of days. 902-405-6000 is the number, or 1-877-801-8255. It is the open hour, and I think we have some folks who are interested in chatting about the Canada Post strike. We're going to go to the phone lines, and joining us at the top here is Cheryl. Good morning, Cheryl.
Good morning. I'm so happy to be the first one.
Yes.
And welcome.
Oh,
I think you're great.
Oh, thank you so much. Appreciate that. A little rusty.
I think we need forward strategies to figure out a way out of this postal mess.
So I understand, are you a former Canada Post employee?
Yes, I am. I worked as a letter carrier in Vancouver for 4 years. It was a wonderful job. We had quite a bit of freedom, and we could block our afternoon off for 10 minutes, and we'd usually run our routes. There's a lot of us who used to run our routes, and we'd be finished the day by 11:30. Come back after coffee, another 15 minutes, head out. We'd be done by 1 p.m. Now, I'm sure things are different, but I mean, I got paid a very good wage and had a great pension plan. And I left after 4 years because it's kind of the job doesn't really go anywhere. And I just want to say that it's a changing world. And I appreciate the fact that the elderly, and I am an elderly person now, it's much more convenient to have it right to the door, but the world is changing. Yeah. And those who cannot accept change and adopt other methods are left behind. If Canada Post wants to continue operations as they currently have been, I want to know as an individual, how much more is that going to be in federal taxes for me? I don't need big amounts. I need to know how much more per year is this going to cost me? Yeah. And I think every Canadian deserves that. So if we are going to subsidize Canada Post to continue operations with its head in the sand mentality, I want to know how much it's going to cost me. And I just think it's basic. The world is changing. I haven't got a package from Canada Post for God knows how long. I get it from Amazon, or they use, FedEx, UPS. Canada Post is expensive. And
I guess, maybe that's what Canada Post has to do. I mean, during this time, and I mentioned, the ultimate elbows up last hour, or earlier in the hour, maybe that's what needs to happen. Canada Post should be branding themselves as the ultimate Canadian choice and, and steer that package delivery, business away from the American carriers. As a matter of fact, I thought that's what Canada Post was planning to do, actually. I thought that was sort of in their long-term plan, that they were going to concentrate on packages, but I guess not.
It would be tough for them to compete with the current carriers. Yeah. They're getting lower and lower. And there's the skip delivery now, which what they do is they send out to the major metropolitan centers big blocks of shipments of parcels, and then the local delivery is done at that particular place. It's a little bit cheaper than UPS and FedEx, but this is just going to get worse for Canada Post. It's too bad, but we have to accept change. And I don't like doing things online. I used to love, delivery to the door. I haven't had delivery to the door in 40 years. Wow. But my son does. So, I don't think you can serve half the population one way and the other half the other. If the elderly have that difficult a time, maybe if they can register for something I can't get to my group box, get me on the list. Here's the documentation of why I can't get those people separate service.
We definitely have to make sure that the disabled and elderly have a mechanism by which to get mail, for sure. Listen, Cheryl, I'm going to let you go for now. We've got a full phone line, but I very much appreciate your time, and thank you. Thank you so much. All right. And we're going to go to Cheryl. We have another Cheryl on the line who also wants to talk about Canada Post. Cheryl, good morning.
Good morning. And it's so good to hear a female voice on the radio. It's about time, eh?
Well, you know what? We were having this conversation earlier. I do believe that I am the first woman to take the helm of this show. We did have a talk show here on the weekends that was hosted by a woman, but I think I'm the first woman to sit in the chair here in the Rick House studios.
And I think you're rocking it. Honestly, it's already amazing. I'm going to listen again and again if you're on.
Well, I'm back on Monday, but from there we'll see how it goes. Yeah, we'll see how it goes. I'm just here to sort of fill in the gaps while Todd and Dan are taking some time off.
Doesn't feel like a gap to me. So I would run the numbers here, and it says that they're bleeding $135 million per month on average. Canada Post,
$10 million a day is the figure that they said yesterday.
Yeah, so if we have 41.29 million, those are numbers based on last year. We're bleeding $3.26 million per person per month. People that are, struggling to put food on the table and find housing.
Yeah.
So I think your last guest there that you had for Canada Post is a little tone deaf, because he said it right there. He said, why would we pay $15 an hour when we can pay them $30 an hour? I mean, they're literally in the past. I know many people with a disability who don't want to, they want to go out when it's safe to go out. They don't want to worry about snow clearing around their home.
Sure.
Want to go to the lock box, and they want to know that a parcel hasn't blown away or someone hasn't taken their stuff out of their, door to door. It has to go. There's no question it has to go.
So you think this is a communication method that its time has come and gone?
It needs to be eliminated yesterday.
Wow. So you want to eliminate all door-to-door delivery, period?
100%.
Wow.
And I mean, if it's a community mailbox, maybe they could start gathering there, in isolated areas. Like, we're going to meet you at the lockbox. We're going to have a few benches. We're going to find, everybody coming together at that one spot. I mean, it's not going to eliminate, it could help the community to have that secure box.
It is, but I'm just thinking about the peninsula. Spare land for that type of infrastructure is at a premium. So, is it even realistic to have that type of setup in a deep urban area where that's where the vast majority of the door-to-door delivery is taking place, right?
Well, I'm thinking that you should have a couple apartments go. One apartment has the lockbox area. They should. Yep. I mean, look at how vacuous some of the lobbies are in those apartments.
True enough. All right. Well, listen, Cheryl, I thank you so very much for your time and your opinion, and we hope to hear from you again soon.
Thank you. Keep up the good work.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. All right. It is 11:27. We do have a couple of people on the line. Brian, Chris, hold on tight. We're just going to take a quick break for the news. We've got Blake Priddle coming up, and he'll give you the latest update. If you want to join the conversation, give us a call at 902-405-6000 or 1-877-801-8255. I'm Lisa Blackburn, and you're listening to 95.7 News Radio Halifax.
Blackburn.
Yes, indeed. Good morning, everybody. My name is Lisa Blackburn from Forward Strategies, and I'm joining you this morning and on Monday as well to give Dan Alstrand a bit of a extra long weekend and just recharge his batteries, something we need every now and then. It is 902-405-6000. That is the number for the open line hour if you're out of town. 1-877-801-8255. Going back to the phones, and we've got Brian on the line. Brian, thank you so much for waiting, my dear.
No problem.
You want to talk about Canada Post? What? Yes, can hear you fine. What's on your mind?
Yeah, Canada Post is a joke.
Oh, okay. How come nobody's laughing?
I don't know. It's not funny at all. I've been shipping packages through Canada Post for quite a while. Mm-hmm. I can get a package shipped to me from Ontario. If I place the order today, I'll have it tomorrow through Purelator. If I go with Canada Post and pay for expedited delivery, I'll be lucky to get it in a week. Now, I know Canada Post has some of the best state-of-the-art processing facilities, but yet they don't run them properly. I don't believe it's a problem with the people who deliver the mail.
Okay.
I think it's a problem with people in the hierarchy. I mean, if they're bleeding that much money out of us, how is it companies like Purelator and FedEx and that, they can make money and pay their staff decent wages and supply a better service?
Well, I guess the difference is that Purelator and those folks are not, mandated by federal government to provide a service to Canadians. So, I mean, that's
the problem.
Yeah. So you think problem. So you would like to see the disappearance of day-to-day delivery, door-to-door delivery?
No. I think we got to get the government the hell out of Canada Post. We got to get the hierarchy that are taking all the large wages to do their job because they don't do their job. I've gone into Canada Post and I said, why is it I pay an extra $20 for an expedited package and it takes the same amount of time as if it's snail mail? And what they say to me is like, oh, don't pay for the expedited post. Like, and that's coming from the post office themselves, right?
Right.
So they know the system's broken, but I believe the broken part isn't in the little men. I think it's the big men that are taking too much money.
You find the problem at the management level. There's just too many layers of management.
Most definitely. I mean, this day and age, we shouldn't have. Everybody's hurting. I mean, ever since COVID, things have gotten so bad for everybody. And I'm a senior citizen, and I do a lot of stuff by mail.
Yeah. Do you get delivery to your door?
I haven't had delivery to my door, in 20 years.
Yeah. See, and that's the part that I have trouble wrapping my head around because I've never had door-to-door delivery in any place that I've ever lived.
They're just making excuses and saying they're going to close down rural post offices. That's not an answer.
No, it's not. And that is concerning. I mean, for, as I pointed out to an earlier caller, for many communities, that is the hub. That's where people go to meet.
That's your lifeline.
Yep, exactly.
I get medication sent there. I get packages sent there. But it's gotten to a point over the last, I would say, 10 years. And no blame to the parcel carriers. But it's just gone to crap. They just don't give you the service you're paying for.
Okay.
And it used to be that the couriers weren't allowed to charge less than Canada Post. There was mandated by the government that they had to, they couldn't compete with the Canada Post. So they had to have higher delivery prices. Now, I don't know if that's still the case, but there's definitely a problem within the management.
All right.
And the government, if Canada Post is a federal entity, owned by the people, then somebody should manage it. But our government isn't very good at managing anything, including themselves. We have way too many civil servants making big money, and we have way too many poor people struggling to survive while all these civil servants are getting paid holidays, big wages, and all these benefits.
Yeah.
So, the system's definitely broken. Shutting down Canada Post isn't going to fix the system.
All right, Brian, I thank you so much for your time and appreciate your opinion.
Okay, thank you. Have a good day.
All right, you too. Have a great weekend. 902-405-6000 or 1-877-801-8255. We're going to go hit Chris. Chris is on the line. Good morning, Chris.
Good morning, Lisa.
How are you?
I am good, and you're sounding fine.
Oh, thank you. A little rusty, but we're blowing the rust off slowly. You want to talk about Canada Post as well?
Yeah, just to mention about Canada Post, I guess government in general, but your last caller, Brian, I think he's spot on with a lot of the stuff that he said. I agree with him on that.
About the management being the issue?
Yeah. Management is a problem. I'm not going to say that it is the only issue. There's probably a lot of others as well that us on the outside can't see. But as far as your door-to-door delivery, I live in Halifax on the peninsula, and I get daily, well, I don't get mail every day, but the letter carrier will provide daily delivery. Maybe twice a week would be enough. We don't need to have mail delivered. Most people don't get, I get a fair amount because I don't do a lot online at all, but we don't need, I don't think, actual door-to-door delivery every single day.
Yeah.
I'd be happy if I got my mail Tuesdays and Fridays or Monday and Thursday or whatever schedule they might want to work out, and I think it would be adequate. Closing post offices in rural communities, that would be bad.
Yeah.
I have family in Newfoundland, and if their little post office, which is adjacent to the postmistress's house, if that were to close, the next nearest one that they would be keeping open because it's a bigger community is a 45-minute drive away.
Yeah.
Now, that'll certainly help with the carbon footprint now, won't it? Because how are those people going to go 45 minutes each way? They're going to take the car.
Exactly.
There's no public transit in that area.
No bike lanes.
They're not going to walk it.
Yeah.
So, but I've got a solution. Maybe my idea is too simple.
Hey, sometimes the simplest solution is the best one. What do you got?
Yeah, but Lisa, I suggest it with HRM Council all the time as well, and it applies to all government. Cut out the unnecessary spending. That's the easiest way to balance a budget or to cut down on the government expenditures is to cut out the unnecessary stuff.
But what you forget, Chris, is one person's unnecessary expense is another person's absolute need.
Lisa, I'm pushing back on that one. I'm sorry, but I've got to push back on that. The unnecessary stuff that I'm talking about with the federal government, and I don't want to see Canada Post, my tax dollars, go to subsidize basically a business. But I would rather see Canada Post subsidized than to see a lot of this foreign aid that we're giving out. And God knows where a lot of that money is going to. We don't know. There's no way of following the money once our federal government gives foreign aid to another country. There's no way of following that money to see that it gets to the people that actually need it or that it was intended to do. And how about giving some good, safe drinking water to our native communities up on all the reserves that have been waiting for decades to get it?
Yeah, that $10 million a day that Canada Post is losing could certainly go a long way.
I don't believe for 1 minute they're losing $10 million a day. The numbers are skewed. I don't believe that for a second.
All right, Chris, listen, I've got to move on. I've got to move on. We've got a full phone line here, but I thank you so very much for your
Lisa,
time.
Thank you.
All right, you take care. 902-405-6000 is the number, and we're going to go back to line one, and we have Kurt on the air. Good morning, Kurt.
Hi, Lisa. I just want to add, you're doing a great job. It's wonderful to hear a lady's perspective. And if I could add best wishes to Todd, and have a good weekend, Dan.
Oh, thank you so very much.
Could I talk about the deputy mayor's bike ride yesterday?
Oh, Tony Mancini had the community bike ride.
Tony Mancini. It was a fabulous event.
Always is.
Over in Graham's Grove, and HRM had a huge turnout. One of the e-bikes were there. You could try I lifted my 75-pound e-bike on to the e-bus and that. But it was really great. There was a good turnout from the councillors. My councillor was there, Laura White. Sam Austin was there, and even David Hansby. He wasn't on a bike, though.
Oh, it's always a great event. And you're right. A lot of the councillors do come out. They try to host it in a different community each year. So I remember when it was hosted out in Sackville, one of the first years I was councillor. Big draw. A lot of people come, and it's just great to see people out on their bikes.
It was, and it was wonderful. The police were there in good force, and I want to make a point in relation to the police that were there. They led the bike ride down Waverley Road to Shoeby Park and back, and there was even a 5-year-old little kid riding with them. And I think the objective is to show there are people, despite so many people call into the show and say, I never see anybody on bikes, and people like your last caller say these things aren't necessary, bike lanes, you don't need to connect them, and I think it's great to see that. What was amusing to me, it used to be the mayor's bike ride, and don't take anything away from Tony, but the mayor didn't come. Fortunately, he was there in effigy. Somebody did a paper mache of the mayor.
Okay.
And he was riding on a bike, and it was incredible.
Excellent.
They do critical mass 6 o'clock tonight at Grand Parade, and I hope that the mayor is in effigy there as well. But I really just want to say that I think we need to promote more this connectivity of bike lanes and getting out and that. So I think that's about it.
All right. Well, listen, you brought up the big one, so you're making sure I don't get out of here unscathed.
I did want to go back to the police, though. I was talking to the police there, and they don't have e-bikes. It would be great if they could have e-bikes. One of the fellows was telling me he was a real proponent. They could move around much quicker. And the parking
well, there you go.
The parking guys have e-bikes, but they cut them out of the e-bike budget, or out of your municipal budget.
Well, you know what? When the Board of Police Commission does their budget process, and I know they've already started that, there will be an opportunity for public participation. So I encourage you to go out there and let them know how you feel about e-bikes and officers.
I'll do that. Thank you very much, and
Kurt,
you are doing a great job.
Thank you so much. Appreciate that. 902-405-6000 is the number. Listen, we're going to take a quick break, but hang on the line. We've got Nicole, we've got Joe, we've got Sean. Hopefully we get to Bob and Colin, but we have room for more. 902-405-6000. Taking a quick break, and we'll be back. I'm Lisa Blackburn, and you're listening to 95.7 News Radio. And the open hour continues. 902-405-6000. The local number, 1-877-801-8255 is the extended, the long-distance number. And we have Nicole joining us this morning. And Nicole, I do believe, wants to talk about power rates. Good morning, Nicole.
Good morning, Lisa. How are you?
I'm doing great. How are you doing?
I'm doing well.
All right. What's on your mind?
Well, I'm no stranger to this show when it comes to talking about Nova Scotia Power.
Okay.
And something I talk about a lot is that ratepayers don't hold contracts with Nova Scotia Power. And it's been well documented. It's upheld within the regulations. If you call Nova Scotia Power right now and say, I want a contract or a copy of my contract, they'll say it doesn't exist. No one can produce it. They can't provide you with the terms and conditions or the privacy policy that you signed. So now our MLAs are back in legislature.
Yes.
And Claudia Chender is kind of leading the charge right now on trying to be the voice for fair power rates for Nova Scotia.
Yeah, I understand that they actually have a petition going around demanding that the province bring in legislation that would rein in Nova Scotia Power.
And that's what I want to talk about, because I don't understand why they're doing that when that power is already vested in them in the Nova Scotia or in the Public Utility Act. Right. So the issue that I'm having right now with this is, we know what it means to have a contract and how your rates and everything and your rights get preserved inside of a contract. And we don't have that, but we don't have that because of what is written inside of the Public Utility Act. And so right now, ratepayers, they can't negotiate. They can't walk away because it's a monopoly. We can't sue for breach. And our only protection is what's happening inside of the Public Utility Act and the complaint process specifically. So right now, if you have an issue, you have to escalate it through Nova Scotia Power and then bring it to the UARB. And then the UARB, if there's an intervention process, appoints a consumer advocate on your behalf that can't actually argue the contract because it's out of scope of their contract, and you're not allowed to talk to them, and they don't talk to you. So you don't actually have an advocate in this. It's this complete closed-loop process, but it's upheld inside of the Public Utility Act.
It just sounds like layers of bureaucracy on top of layers of bureaucracy.
It absolutely is. So when we have MLAs or party leaders like Claudia Chender standing on the floor of the legislature saying, what is the government going to do? Well, when they say government, they're talking about the cabinet, but there's two things at play here, right? The MLAs have the ability to go in and amend and put motions forward to amend the problematic parts of the Public Utility Act, but they're not. Instead, they're waiting for the cabinet to now use their lever of policy direction to go in and maybe change the regulations.
Yes.
But they're not going to do that.
I do believe that tactic is called give them enough rope to hang themselves.
That's exactly what it is. So I feel like instead of championing the people like Claudia Chender, I think we need to hold their feet to the fire a little more firmly, because the word salad that they keep throwing out actually isn't making any sense. And these ideas of doing rebates, like why would you put forward the idea of who pays for the rebate at the end of the day? We do. The money doesn't come out of thin air. So offering a rebate is like a short-term solution when you have the power and ability to amend the Public Utility Act and get rid of the mechanisms that prevent ratepayers from taking Nova Scotia Power to court or taking Nova Scotia Power through the channels that actually give you equitable relief. Like that's what needs to happen. This arguing of saying, what is the government going to do? What is the government going to do? You're an elected official. You have a power and a duty as an MLA in the legislature over the acts. Exercise that first before you start pointing your fingers everywhere.
All right. Listen, from Nicole's lips to the MLA's ears. Thank you so very much, Nicole.
Thank you, Lisa. Have a great day.
You too. Take care. Have a great weekend. 902-405-6000 is the number, and we're going to hit up Joe now. Joe is a retired letter carrier, I understand. Good morning, Joe, and welcome to the show.
Thank you. Lisa, you really are doing a good job.
Oh, thank you.
I called in when I first listened to about half an hour of your spiel and mentioned something to Vanessa. It's really refreshing to hear a female voice. And I got to say, you really are a jack of all trades. You've done a lot of things. So let me finish because I don't have much time.
Sure.
You're not knocking any rust off, boy. You hit the ground running and you're doing a great job. Well, and I was going to say I'd forego my opportunity to speak if I could listen to Nicole again. I don't know who that masked girl is, but she really knows her stuff.
There you go. And so you are a retired letter carrier?
Yeah. At any rate, what Brian had said earlier was pretty well on. A little bit of edge to it, but no harm, no foul. He hit the high points of the problems with the post office. And if I had to pick, I'm not an expert, and neither is anyone else out there that are giving so many opinions. But if I had to pick one area of the post office that is the elephant in the room, the most problematic, it's the incompetent management. Incompetent management. The place is full of the management system in there and save the union. They're backing the workers, but it's one of the most nepotistic and political jobs I've ever worked in. And I've done a lot of things.
I knew that sort of back in the 70s and 80s, but is it still that way?
Well, Lisa, go along, connect the dots. If you start incorporating a lot of these types of mentalities in the 70s, it's going to continue into the 80s and 90s, and pretty soon it's going to become mainstream thinking.
It's entrenched.
It's entrenched, and it's the management there is a lot of incompetence. Not all. There's some really good managers, but for the most part, I've run into some people who have no business being in management, but they know the right people. It's not what they know, it's who they know. And I'm not pointing the finger at anyone in particular, other than I've come across in many areas of work that I've done in my life, most of the problems, the majority of them come from poor, incompetent management. Thank you for your time.
All right, Joe. Appreciate the perspective. Thank you so very much for joining us. 902-405-6000. I think that is just about all the time we have. She says, giving out the number. I apologize to Sean, Bob. Not going to have the chance to get to you this time around, but I do believe we have an open hour coming up again on Monday, if I'm not mistaken. So we'll take your calls again. 11:57 is the time. We're going to take a quick break. Here's some news updates with Blake Priddle, and then afterwards we're going to get back to it, and we're going to be discussing, Cybersecurity Awareness Month is coming up, and so we're going to talk about how to keep yourself safe online. This is News 95.7 Radio. I'm Lisa Blackburn. Thank you very, very much. Man with big voice. I am indeed Lisa Blackburn, and I'm sitting in on the talk show today, the Todd Veinotte show, today and Monday, while the guys get a bit of a rest. Todd Veinotte and Dan Alstrand are just taking a little time off, so I'm going to sit in the chair and entertain you for the next hour. We've got, we're going to wrap things up for the weekend. Going to take a look at weather with Allister Aalders a little bit later. And then, of course, we have Cecil Wright, who is going to be talking sports with us. Going to ask him about the Blue Jays game last night. Whether or not he wants to talk about it, that is entirely up to him. All right, it is 5 minutes after 12 and National Tree Day. It's a time to celebrate the urban tree canopy. And I certainly know that is something that HRM, as an entity, is incredibly proud of. And Tree Canada has community volunteers that are going to be working together to grow the urban forest in celebration of National Tree Day. And to tell us a bit more about it, we have Robert Henri, who is the Director, Communications and Brand for Tree Canada. Robert, good morning. Hi, hello, is this Tony? Oh, I'm sorry.
I'm not Robert, Lisa.
I'm terribly sorry. No, I'm terribly sorry. We're the wrong guest here. I've got the phone lines confused. We've got Tony Anscombe, who is the chief. You call yourself a chief security evangelist?
That's what the company calls me, Lisa, not me myself.
I'm terribly sorry. No, we're here. We're going to talk about trees in a few minutes, but right now we're going to talk about cybersecurity because National Cybersecurity Awareness Month is coming up in November. And, you know, this is something that businesses, individuals, we all really need to be aware of this. And certainly this is a good time to step back, take a look at your own cybersecurity and see where you can make changes and make improvements. And we do have Tony Anscombe on the line, who is joining us this morning, the Chief Security Evangelist, as he is known. Good morning, Tony. Welcome.
It's good to be here, Lisa.
All right. Well, listen, what is the focus this year on the National Cybersecurity Awareness Month?
Well, there are the kind of standard overarching messages, Lisa, in any cybersecurity awareness month about strong passwords, making sure your data's secure, and one of the big things for me from a consumer perspective is multi-factor authentication. Don't rely on passwords anymore; they're done and dusted, and always have that secondary authentication, whether it be an app or a text message that comes through with a code. It's far more secure, and it will keep you and your personal information secure.
What about that second level of security that asks for fingerprints or face? Are there any sort of issues with relying on that to unlock devices and get access to your computer?
No, not at all. In most of these instances, the biometric stays on the device itself, so only in effect, an authentication token is sent between the device and whatever it is you're trying to authenticate with. So biometrics are a great way and another additional step in there as well. So think about that if you are using multi-factor authentication. So say you're trying to sign onto your bank account and you implement multi-factor authentication. You've got to unlock your phone with biometrics, and then you've got to actually unlock the app and possibly put your fingerprint in again to actually unlock the code. So I'm just saying there's a lot of security in there that will keep you and your money safe.
So I guess the big thing, really, educate yourself. Make sure that you are aware of what is out there and what could be potentially coming at you.
Certainly, and come at life with an attitude of if something turns up digitally, unexpectedly, on your phone, in your email, treat it with zero trust. And verify everything. So if something turns up in your inbox and it's from the Canadian Revenue Service, don't click on it. Go to the Canadian Revenue Service, log on, and see whether there actually is a message for you. But don't click on the link.
And I guess that's if you don't trust it or if you don't recognize the source, then just get rid of it altogether.
Absolutely. And look at the context. Banks, revenue services, governments, they don't send you links to log in. They rely on you being able to go to a web page and log in because, of course, that's the differentiation between them and actually the scammer. If you end up on a login page through a link in your email or from a text message, it's likely to be a scam.
What about software updates? I mean, I guess that those software comes with a certain amount of cybersecurity, but I guess if you're not updating your devices on the regular, you're going to lose out.
Yeah, absolutely. No software is 100% secure. Unfortunately, when people create software, sometimes there are vulnerabilities found in it at some stage, bugs, flaws, whatever you want to call them. And software companies continually update their software to patch those and to fix other things in their software, functionality issues. But the most important thing is you do install the updates, and where possible, switch on auto updates so it does it for you. And maybe even select to do it out of hours, so update overnight and things like that. But that downloads security patches and it keeps you safe. If you look at the number of vulnerabilities that were logged in the software industry last year, it was a record number. There were over 40,000 known vulnerabilities in software last year.
Wow. Yeah. When it comes to passwords, I mean, I know the adage is use strong passwords. Well, I mean, what is considered a strong password?
Well, all of mine are about 18 characters. No, I'm joking, Lisa, because I could never remember them either. But what you need to do is come up with some sort of clever passphrase that is gives you a combination of letters, numbers, and symbols. So you mentioned the Blue Jays game last night, just a moment ago. Maybe you're a Blue Jays fan and they were playing the Dallas Cowboys. Maybe they're playing the Dallas Cowboys or something. Blue Jays 1, Dallas Cowboys 0. Exclamation
now that's a game
mark,
I'd like to see.
The game was in. Yeah, but you get my point. Is you could put BJ1, DC 0, 2025 or the date or something. Then with an exclamation mark somewhere in amongst there, some capital, some lowercase, will give you a password that doesn't have any natural words in it and doesn't mean anything to anybody else other than you. Yeah.
That's the key. And then the next problem is trying to remember it. I mean, I suppose you could use a password manager, but I mean, a lot of folks are still just having a notebook and writing it down and sort of putting it off to the side of their computer. I'm sure that's not recommended at all.
It's certainly not recommended, and password managers are a good way of having strong passwords and then just remembering one to unlock the password manager. And most password managers now will let you unlock them using biometrics. So as well, it adds that extra layer of protection in there as well for you.
And when it comes to backup, I mean, that used to be something that we did on the regular. Do as a regular course of action. But now with cloud computing, is that even necessary to back up data?
Yeah, unfortunately it is, because if somebody did launch a ransomware attack against you as an individual, which does happen, if the backup is in real time, i.e. so your backup is attached to the data on your machine in real time, then the likelihood is the bad actor will encrypt both. So your backup will be lost and the data on your device.
Yeah.
So having an encrypted secondary drive, a detachable drive from your machine at home, is a great way of backing up and keeping offline storage. You don't need to do it every day, but do it on a frequent basis. At least you've got a point that you can go back to then as needed. And if you're in a business, you should be keeping both online and offline backups.
Is this something that traditionally small and medium businesses can do on their own, or are you finding more and more people having to reach out to security experts to keep their business computers safe?
If you're in a small business, today's sophisticated cyber criminals it's not about detecting a piece of malware. It's not just about having antivirus. It's actually having a cybersecurity expert kind of on hand as and when required. Some of the sophistication being used by cyber criminals means they get into your systems. You don't know they're there. They're not deploying malware for a period of time. They're looking around. They're exfiltrating data, messing around with your business. To detect that type of thing requires a level of sophistication. So actually, a small business, I'd really recommend they use a managed service. So actually outsource their cybersecurity to a trusted partner.
All right. Thank you so very much, Tony Anscombe, Chief Security Evangelist at ESET. Great tips there for keeping ourselves safe during National Cybersecurity Awareness Month. Thank you so much for your time, and have a great weekend, Tony.
And you. Thanks, Lisa.
All right, thank you. It is 12:15. We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, now we're going to talk about trees. We're going to talk about Halifax's Urban Forest National Tree Day, how you can get involved and make Halifax's tree canopy even bigger than it already is. You are listening to 95.7 News Radio. I'm Lisa Blackburn. Back in a moment.
Blackburn.
Good morning. We are counting down to the weekend, getting ever so close. And we're going to have an update with Allister Aalders a little later on this hour to talk about what weather we are going to be facing and what you should be planning, whether it's indoors or outdoors for the weekend. So National Tree Day is upon us, and Tree Canada and community volunteers are going to be working together to grow Halifax's urban forest in celebration. And as I said earlier, Halifax has actually won awards for its tree canopy. We are known as a very tree-friendly city across Canada. And to tell us about National Tree Day and some of the ways that volunteers are going to participate, we have Robert Henri on the line. He's the Director of Communications and Brand with Tree Canada. And Robert joins us on the phone this morning. Good morning. I guess it's good afternoon now. Morning for you, afternoon for me. How you been?
That's right. I'm very good. How are you?
Excellent, excellent. National Tree Day, celebrated on a Wednesday, but we also have events coming up Saturday and Sunday as well. How can we take part? What's going on?
Well, we have events across the country this week to celebrate National Tree Day. It's actually National Forest Week, so we because a lot of people aren't available on Wednesdays after work, so we've added a day on Saturdays and a few events on Sundays. So people across Canada, actually, there'll be 22 events this week across Canada to celebrate National Tree Day. So to take part in it, people had to register on our site because we have limited spaces. And I'm happy to say, but unfortunately for others, maybe your listeners, we're all sold out for Halifax for tomorrow, which is great news. Lots of interest from local population to help green their community.
Yeah, I applaud the fact that we have sold out here in Halifax. Mm-hmm. We are definitely known for our trees here. I know a lot of visitors come to the city and, have expressed to me when I was a councillor just how incredible they found the tree canopy here in Halifax.
Yes, it's beautiful. I was there just a few years ago, and I thought it was amazing. And lots of fog, so I didn't see everything. But we have some of our team members and our board members also live in Halifax, and they've talked about the health of the tree canopy, how great it is. But as with any city, urban canopy is under pressure, right? From obviously climate change impacts like hurricanes and tropical storms in particular, and invasive species, and just the regular urban pressures of a city. So we need to take care of our trees, right? Everywhere across Canada, in urban centers, in cities and towns. People understand this. That's why we have just so much interest in this day year after year, and it keeps growing. People understand the need for trees, right? They need to cool our cities when the heat gets unbearable.
Yeah, I was just about to ask about that because, the tree canopy is as pretty as it is, as nice as it looks. It certainly has a function. It does work for the city.
Absolutely. It works. It has so many functions across so many different dimensions, I guess. Socially, obviously, trees help with there are studies that prove that more trees reduces crime in cities, right? So trees help calm people. They're beautiful. They offer recreational spaces. So socially, it's so important for our health as well. But economically, it helps decrease those temperatures in the summer. And so the need for cooling from air conditioning, for example, is not as needed during those heat waves. So. And especially in lower income neighborhoods where people probably need it the most, often there are fewer trees. And this is pretty much across most cities, right? So a lot of municipalities have those targets to increase canopy in lower income neighborhoods. And trees, obviously, they have all these environmental benefits, right? They clean the air for us. They help cool the temperatures, as I mentioned, but also help reduce flooding.
Yeah, absolutely. That was,
we have the roots can suck that water up and prevent flooding.
And it's interesting because when I was a city councillor, that was a complaint that I would hear on the regular. Folks who would say, "Oh, why are you spending all this money planting trees along the sides of the roads? We've got trees everywhere." And I have to explain to them that the trees that are planted, immediately next to the road, they're chosen. The species is chosen because they can suck up a lot of water, and that's what we need next to our roadways is good, strong root systems that'll, suck up all kinds of water.
That's right. Like a mature tree can lift almost 400 liters of water out of the ground, right? Wow. So it's not instantaneous as soon as there's a storm, but having a multitude of trees in certain areas helps for sure, and having green spaces to be able to absorb that water is important, right? And there are cost savings associated with that for municipalities from those storms, from those heat waves. So it may cost money to plant the trees and maintain them, but I think it's a positive net benefit down the line.
Yeah. And you mentioned earlier that, the urban tree canopy is certainly feeling a lot of stressors these days. Can you explain a little bit about what exactly is what is taking aim at our urban tree canopy?
Well, there's a lot of different pressures. It depends on where they're located and the type of tree, obviously. But obviously, when we build around the trees, we can, whether we can cut the roots or add pressure to the root system, so that's always a pressure. And I know a lot of municipalities are aware of this, and they do their best to help protect those trees, especially the mature ones or the newly planted ones where they need a bit extra help. And obviously, this summer was a very dry summer, right?
Yeah.
So drought is a factor in some cases, and so especially for the newer trees, like in the first 2 years, trees need to be monitored a bit more closely, watered if there are drought conditions. So certainly that's a factor as well.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So with the National Tree Day Wednesday coming up, events this weekend, how many trees are you expecting will be planted over the next few days?
It's hard to tell right now. It depends, because at some events we plant larger trees, so we plant fewer of them because there's so much work to dig the holes and everything. For example, in Halifax on Saturday, we'll be planting at Fairview Cemetery, and in that park there are a lot of trees that are over 100 years old that are, many of them may be nearing the end of their lives, so we need to think ahead. And so that's why we're working with the municipality to choose the right species to plant there. I don't have the list in front of me, but I'm sure they've chosen trees to ensure there's a natural cycle that once these older trees die, these younger ones will grow. So they're actually only planting, with about 50 volunteers registered, we're only planting about 40 to 50 potted trees on Saturday in Halifax. So that means they're probably going to be pretty big trees. In other sites, we planted 200, 300, 400 trees, and those will be smaller. So it really depends on the needs of the site that's been selected. But last year we planted over 8,600 trees and shrubs across the country.
Oh, you do shrubs as well?
Yes. In many cases, shrubs can help increase the biodiversity of those green spaces too. So they can be very important. Sometimes they're also shrubs that produce berries, for example. So it can help a bit with food security, and obviously helps with restoring wildlife habitat and increasing biodiversity there.
Yeah, and certainly trees have been pointed out to me several times as a potential way of tackling food insecurity in our communities. If we were to plant urban trees that were fruit producing, that were suitable for this climate, it could be a way to provide food for people who need it.
Absolutely, and many people are planting those types of trees. We have a granting program called Edible. It's our community tree grants, and we have an Edible Trees program as part of that. And many people apply for that every year so that they can get those fruit or berries and nut producing trees. Often they'll plant them around community centers or around schools and community gardens where people already are thinking about food. So it can really help with that. We have some of our grant recipients are Indigenous communities where they plant species that are important to their local cultures as well, so that they can teach the children as well, about the importance of these trees traditionally, but also for producing food and medicines as well. So, trees, they do a lot for us. So National Tree Day is really a great opportunity for us to say thanks and then give a bit back to nature. And that's why we're so excited to have over 2,000 people across Canada joining forces this week, people from all walks of life, young and old, sometimes grandparents and their grandchildren. It's beautiful to see that, and people are just have a great day of it, and you leave feeling pretty satisfied that you've done a good job.
There you go. Trees do so much for us. Time to do a little something for them. Robert Henri, thank you so very much for joining us. Robert Henri, Director Communications and Brand with Tree Canada. Get out there and enjoy National Tree Day. Thank you so very much for joining us.
Thank you. Happy National Street Day.
All right. Take care. All right. It is 12:28. Time to take a quick break for the news. We have Blake Priddle coming up in just a moment with the headlines. And then coming up afterwards, sun's starting to poke out just a little bit through those clouds. We'll get the full details on the weather for the weekend with Allister Aalders. But first, Blake Priddle in the news. I'm Lisa Blackburn, and you're listening to 95.7 News Radio.
Burn.
And good afternoon, friends and neighbors. 12:35 is the time, and we're into the last half hour of the Todd Veinotte Show. I am indeed Lisa Blackburn from Forward Strategies. I'm filling in for the next couple of days, and thank you to my employers over at Forward for allowing me to play radio for a little while. It's time to get caught up on our weather for the weekend. It was rainy last night, certainly got a little bit, but is it enough? We'll find out in just a moment. We've got Allister Aalders joining us. He is the News Radio 95.7 weather specialist. Allister, good morning.
Hello, Lisa. How are you?
I am doing great. Beaverbank is in the house today.
That's right. We're representing here today.
Awesome. So, listen, a lot of folks going to be happy. We got the rain, but how much did we get, and is it going to make a dent in what we need?
Yeah, I mean, it was certainly welcome rain. I mean, this is, I think, one of the first more widespread rain events that we've had in a while, where it was kind of raining pretty much everywhere for once instead of some getting it and others not. But in general, it was about 10 to 20 millimeters with some pockets upwards of 30. So, I mean, that's not too bad.
Not shabby.
We're in a very large deficit. Obviously, we've had very little rain through July, August, and much of September, too. You know, month-to-date rainfall in some cases has only been less than 20 millimeters. Along parts of the coast, it's been 30 to 50 plus millimeters, depending on where you are. But when you compare that to what we usually see in the month of September, it's usually 100 to 130 plus millimeters of rain, depending on the location. So much of the region has received less than 70% of their normal rainfall, or about 50 to 75% less than normal so far this September, and not a lot of rain as we close out the month. So I don't expect that number will change a whole lot. And then still, some of us, you know, I said it was 10 to 20 plus on average, but, you know, parts of the valley only had, 5 to 10 millimeters. And same with the North Shore.
Wow. And they need it the most there in the valley.
Well, exactly. Yeah. Some of the stations closest to West Dalhousie, where that wildfire is still ongoing, only about 8 to 12 millimeters. So, they definitely need more rain. We need more systems like this to move through to really kind of improve the entire situation. But aside from a few passing showers, mainly farther north and east in the province, it's overall looking like a dry end to September and start to October. So unfortunately, I do think, when they take that drought assessment at the beginning of the month, it will likely be little changed or maybe just slightly improved. And we know that, of course, at the beginning of September, in many parts of the province were in an extreme drought. So it's not a fix, unfortunately, that will come overnight. We really need the pattern to change. Unfortunately, not seeing that in the short term.
Oh, so it's not looking any better for October then for rainfall?
At least the start of the month is not looking favorable. Passing showers, but we need these larger systems to move through that linger a bit longer than just last night the rain was certainly welcome, but most of it fell while we were sleeping, and then it cleared out, fairly early this morning. We need a few solid days of rain, and amounts, 30, 40, 50 millimeters would be much more welcome.
But so it's a fine line, though, because we can't, if we get a huge dump all at once, then that's going to create problems as well, because the ground is just so hard.
Yes, that's part of this problem, too, is that the ground is so dry that it's somewhat repelling the rain when it comes down. So if we're getting it falling quite heavily, then we are going to be dealing with, a lot of it running off rather than absorbing into the ground. And then, of course, that can cause issues in terms of flooding, depending on the rainfall rates. And then obviously it doesn't really benefit the overall drought situation. So we are very much kind of walking a fine line of we need more rain, but we need it to come very more
gently.
Frequently and light, gentle, like you just said, rather than, heavy downpours that often can come with weather in early fall.
So just talking a few minutes ago with Robert Henri from Tree Canada, and that got me thinking about the fall colors, because interesting enough, I had to take a quick road trip to Moncton for work yesterday and noticed in New Brunswick a lot of their trees are doing pretty good. A lot of nice bright colors popping out there. But I'm wondering if the fall colors are going to be impacted at all. It will face an impact, I should say, from all of this dry weather and the drought.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's not unusual to start to see some change at the end of September, but, I was out in East Uniacke yesterday at the QE2 Home Lottery Grand Prize Cottage, and there was quite a bit of change in the leaves around there. And, like I just said, it's not uncommon to start seeing the change, but, from what I'm seeing myself and pictures people are sending to me, I would say it seems like we're about 1 to maybe in some cases 2 weeks ahead of schedule. Usually we think of the peak of fall colors being around Thanksgiving, mid-October, for some later in October, if you're, closer to the coast. But a number of areas are already seeing, it's not just a few trees here and there. They're starting to really change. And certainly, there are a number of factors causing stress on the trees, like you heard in your previous interview. But in terms of weather, the season's lack of rainfall is certainly a major stressor on trees, especially the younger trees or trees that were recently planted. We're seeing, as a result, reduced levels of chlorophyll production, and that's essentially what changes the colors. But because that's happening earlier, we're seeing those colors start to flip faster, and in some cases, the colors will be duller. Now, there's, of course, somewhat of a flip side, because around this time of year, warm, sunny days like we've been experiencing with cooler, kind of crisp nights late in September and into October are actually ideal for more vibrant colors to appear. So I would expect varied displays. That's the expectation I would have. Obviously, many leaves are changing sooner than normal, but I think the vibrancy will be more varied. Still a spectacular display, but certainly could be duller in some cases, especially compared to previous years.
Well, and that could have an impact in Cape Breton with Celtic colors, of course.
Well, and that's the thing. This is a big, fall colors are a big tourism draw here in Nova Scotia.
Absolutely.
Now. The weather is, it's generally fairly nice into late September and October. And like you just said, Celtic colors is a big draw. And obviously, the patterns we've been experiencing here are much different than they've been experiencing up there. They have certainly in the Highlands more influences from, say, later season snow melting. So where we lost our snow fairly early in the spring season, theirs certainly lingered a bit longer, which would have benefited them, moving forward into the drier season that we've experienced. And in some cases, they've had a bit more rainfall this past summer compared to other parts of the province. The Southern Valley's just been so dry, but they've actually benefited from a bit more rain up there. So I think it's really just going to depend on where you are exploring the leaves in the province this fall. And obviously just factors coming down to, the types of trees and other stress factors that could be influencing it.
And of course, hurricanes are always a major stress factor for trees around these parts. Wow. I need a scorecard to keep track of everything that's going on in the tropics. We've got 2 storms and possibly a third?
Yeah, so we went from having very little to it being very busy. So I guess technically now it's 1 storm, Hurricane Umberto, and that storm is located, it's about 725 kilometers northeast of the northern Leeward Islands. There was also Hurricane Gabrielle, which is now a post-tropical storm. It's moving to the east of the Azores and will be heading towards the coast of Portugal this weekend. But all the attention is on Umberto and then a possibly second storm, which looks likely to develop this weekend, which will be the next name I, which is Imelda. And it's a very complex forecast because they're going to be tracking kind of side by side.
Yeah, they're almost like intertwined now. They're dancing.
Well, and that's actually a great point because they could possibly, depending on the strength and the timing, do a Fujiwara effect, which I'm sure a lot of people haven't heard of before.
Fujiwara?
Fujiwara effect, and they sometimes do call it like a Fujiwara dance or a Fujiwara tango because hurricanes are very much independent, systems. They're not attached to any front. They're just they live very independently until they don't. But in this type of scenario, where if they're close enough, they can start to circulate around each other. They start to influence where they could be steered. In some cases, if a storm is weaker than the other, it could try to absorb it into one, which would not make, say, a super hurricane, but it would, make for a larger singular storm. But they can interact, and forecasters in the Southeast are certainly watching for that possibility. Looks like Umberto will eventually get steered towards the Northeast and likely out to sea.
Okay.
There's moderate confidence on that right now. So that's, I think a positive sign for our weather, but still uncertainty until Imelda forms. And there's more uncertainty in terms of that storm, whether it will make landfall near the Carolinas, which I would say is one scenario. The second is that this Fujiwara effect Umberto could steer Imelda out to sea with it, depending on exactly the speed, the size, and how all the factors come together. So I know the forecasters in the States are keeping a very close eye on it. And, of course, we always need to keep an eye on things at this time of year. So no imminent threats to our weather from any tropical systems, but, of course, keeping a very close eye on things.
All right. Allister Aalders, our weather specialist here at 95.7 News Radio. You will keep us updated, and I think we've done Beaver Bank proud today, my dear. Have a great weekend. Thank you so much.
Thanks. You too, Lisa.
All right. It is 12:46. We're going to take a quick break, and then on the other side, we are going to be talking sports. Blue Jays, they had a big win last night, and it was over Cecil's Red Sox. So we'll give him a moment. We'll let him have his moment, but we'll do that after the break. It is 12:47. I'm Lisa Blackburn, and this is 95.7 News Radio.
Blackburn.
And good afternoon. It's 12:50. About 10 minutes away from the start of the weekend for the folks here at 95.7 News Radio and the talk show, Todd Veinotte Show. But before that, we definitely have to talk sports. And joining us to help with that, because God only knows I'm going to need all the help I can get, Cecil. We have Cecil Wright joining us for a look at sports. Good afternoon, sir.
Finally, they got me somebody who knows something about sports.
Oh. Well, now, go easy. I can talk Blue Jays, I can talk Oilers, but that's about it. I just have a very fringe knowledge of some of the other stuff that's going on. But I do know that the Jays they're inching ever so close to clinching. And boy, I'll tell you, that was quite the game last night with that Grand Slam home run from Varsho.
Yeah, it was a pitcher's duel. I got to give the Blue Jays a lot of credit because it was a bullpen game for them, meaning none of their starting pitchers performed at all. And, I mean, they did a great job for, 5 or 6 innings. Give the Blue Jays a lot of credit, especially with Bo Bichette being injured, not being able to play right now. But it's going to be interesting because they still haven't secured first place.
No, that's right.
And the Yankees are sitting right there. They have to play Baltimore, I think, this weekend. Whereas Toronto's got to play Tampa Bay. And Tampa Bay, those guys, they always play it tough. They always do.
They've smacked us a few times.
Yes. They've done that to everybody, man. They just slap them around.
So mathematically, what needs to happen before the Toronto Blue Jays can lock down that division title?
Well, right now they're mathematically tied with the Yankees.
Okay.
So I'm thinking the Blue Jays are going to have to take 2 out of 3 while the Yankees lose.
Okay, and
that's
the magic number formula.
I hate the New York Yankees, and everybody who knows me will tell you that's true.
Yes.
But it's hard for me to root for Toronto too.
I know it's tough for you to yes, that's but I mean you two can you can hold two thoughts in your head at the same time. It's okay.
I can do that. I can do that. That's right.
It's interesting. You mentioned that last night's game was a bullpen game, and I've always thought that's been their weakness for the longest time.
Yeah, me too. And then all of a sudden, they throw a couple guys last night who I'm not familiar with at all.
No.
They were throwing the ball like they were Nolan Ryan, for crying out loud.
Well, and they've got that young kid. What is he, 18 years old? He's barely out of high school. He's the player that just came up from the minors, I think. I mean, he is putting on a show for them.
Well, it's going to have to continue because they're going to it looks like they will definitely make the playoffs, whether they win the division or not. But then it's going to come down to them swinging the bats and their bullpen. And they just lost Barrios. They put him on the injured reserve list just the other day.
Yes.
And I know he was unhappy about being taken out of the rotation. And it's going to be interesting to see how that plays out as time goes on.
Yeah. I want to talk about hockey for a second because things were pretty quiet over the summer as far as trades and transactions. But are things starting to heat up a bit? I mean, I think Conor McGregor is still unsigned, is he not?
They have not extended his contract yet. And as of right now, this minute, he will be a free agent at the end of the season. If he goes to free agency, there's absolutely no way Edmonton could afford to pay him what he's going to get from, let's say, the New York Rangers or, any team that has the wherewithal to pay him.
The big money teams.
Stupid money is what he's going to get, and it's not going to be from Edmonton.
Yep.
Are you an Edmonton fan?
Well, I am. I am legally mandated by marriage to yes, for the Edmonton Oilers and the Edmonton Elks. Yes.
Well, Jamie's a good man.
Yeah. But Sidney Crosby, he has pretty much said that he's staying with the Pittsburgh Penguins come hell or high water.
The way I look at things, if Mario Lemieux can play his entire career with Pittsburgh, so can Sidney Crosby.
Well, yeah, there's no shame in that.
No, and I think it sends a great message to all those little kids who have been fans of his since he, broke into the league way back when.
Yep.
There's something to be said for staying with the home team your entire career. Sidney doesn't need another penny, so it's not about the money. It's about loyalty and dignity, and he's got it.
Yeah, I was just going to say it's all about the loyalty, and it's I think it's been that way from the very beginning. I was just telling somebody the other day I had the absolute honor of being part of his very first radio interview when he was 14 years old, and he was humble then and humble now. So it's it'll be interesting to see where he lands. And do you know of any other teams that are sort of keeping their eye on Connor McDavid? Has there been any buzz out there, or?
Well, I don't think any team that's interested is going to let you know right now.
Yeah,
they're going to try to keep it a secret, and then swoop in and offer him some amazing money at the deadline.
Yeah.
Hope that he'll see it.
That's how it usually happens. Last minute drop of bag of cash, and
that's right.
You've got yourself a deal. Mooseheads are playing tonight, and I think they've got a weekend here at home. I understand, coming off a loss, I do believe. But do you have any information on the Mooseheads for us?
Well, it's early in the season. They're 1-1. So I wouldn't, get too upset if they don't win the next 5 games in a row or something like that. It's a long season, and, they've got some good depth. I'm hoping that they stay injury-free and, as long as they do that, then I think with the new coach, Coach Lord, they'll be all right.
All right. There you go. Cecil Wright with a look at sports. Thank you so much.
Before you let me go,
big
baseball game in Halifax tonight. The Senior League Championship is underway. Halifax hosts Kentville tonight. Kentville has a 2-1 lead in the series, best of 7. 7:30 first pitch. Come on down.
All right. Excellent. Hopefully the rain will hold off for the duration of the game. Appreciate that, Cecil.
All right, Lisa. Nice talking to you.
Lovely to chat with you. Have a great weekend. Thanks.
You as well.
All right. It is 12:57, and that wraps up our show for today. I left the building standing, so I think I'll be back on Monday. Thank you all so very much for helping me along here today. Looking forward to joining you again on Monday. And I'm Lisa Blackburn, and you're listening to 95.7 News Radio.